Hi everybody, my name is Precious Pioneer and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new, welcome. Consider hitting that subscribe button below. I try to post new videos every single week. But today I kind of want to talk to you about how some tips on how to eat a little bit healthier and how I managed to skip all junk food, all processed food for 30 days. As an American, that is incredibly difficult, but I think here in Barcelona it may be a little bit easier because of the limitations and the grocery stores simply aren't as large. But this is something I really struggled with moving here. Actually, I started eating way more junk food than I normally ever would. I think it's just I had these weird cravings. And so I kind of wanted to talk about my story first. Know that I am not a certified nutritionist or anything. This is just kind of my personal story, and maybe that can inspire you, or you can take a small thing from it to kind of adjust your life however you would like. But I think it kind of started, I started thinking about this change, how we had this healthy teacher, a professional, come into my culinary school, and we had lessons with her about 2 hours, 3 hours every week for a month or two, and she would go over all of the health and nutrition facts of produce and food and a healthy diet and the classic Mediterranean diet and all these different things. We used to joke around that the class kind of made you feel really shitty because she would basically, bring out the facts of how certain things have a lot of sugar or fat, and basically what we're eating now will clog our arteries and we'll just die if we just eat all this terrible food. It was a little bit funny because we have a little bit of a break, maybe 5 minutes in between her class, and normally that's our lunch, and there's this little cafe across the street. We all get these really buttery grilled cheeses, and then we come back and she's cheese isn't the best, these sort of things. She wasn't ever judgy, but she would continue on with the lesson of how these things are incredibly terrible for you. And I think it started there because there's two main things that really stuck out in her class, and one of them was we watched this healthy sciencey video, and I really love science, and so I think I'll tag the video up here so you guys can watch it if you want. But basically it was saying how when we eat junk food, we have in our gut there's a lot of really good bacteria that helps support our system, help us digest things, help fight off the bad bacteria that is also in our gut and keep us healthy. Essentially, it's a healthy gut is a healthy life essentially. And so when we eat really bad junk food, burgers, fries, chips, whatever you want to call it, when we eat these things, the good bacteria is constantly fighting, and the larger bacteria that is bad for you grows and grows. And so when you decide to go on a diet and you don't want to eat these junk foods anymore or whatever, the cravings come because it's almost like a parasite. It tricks your brain into wanting and craving these foods, the bacteria inside of you. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. At the same time, when you eat a lot of good healthy foods, all these different things, your cravings change. You want these things, you want other food that sustains you, and so it works both ways. So if you find yourself eating a lot of junk food and then you change your life and you just cut it all off and you move healthy, you're gonna have a harder time adjusting, but eventually you will get there, this sort of thing. And that stuck with me because I'm no wonder, normally I feel in my day-to-day life I eat pretty healthy, but then there's these certain times where I eat maybe a little bit too much for 1 week, and then cutting it off, all the sugar or whatever, is very difficult for me. I always have these little cravings, this sort of thing. And the second thing that really stuck out in that class is we had this little quiz. We were learning about the classic Mediterranean diet. She said that this is the staple or the iconic diet that is deemed incredibly healthy out of all the other diets around the world, because it's based off of healthy food, healthy vegetables, non-processed, just raw vegetables, olive oil, and maybe a little bit of cheeses and fermented foods. It's something like this. That's essentially their diet. And we were taking this quiz about how much our emotions play a role into what we eat. And some of the questions were very simple, if you're celebrating something exciting, does that change what kind of food do you eat? Or when you're sad, does it change? All these different things. If you're going through something really well and productive, or whether you feel sad, does that impact your diet at all? And I remember thinking yes, but I was justifying it. I was yes, but not, it depends on this and all these other things. But essentially, it's not that I failed this quiz, but it basically it was one of those dating quizzes where if you get more than 10 or something, it says you're an emotional eater, and I'm holy crap, that's not healthy at all. Granted, you know, I don't suffer from like something incredibly strong, like where like like I'm binging food and it's like I need to consult somebody where I just eat so much, you know. But at certain moments, like I think that everybody can kind of goes through this sort of thing. Like it's like the cliche, like you go through a breakup, you eat ice cream sort of mood. And I kind of do this sort of thing. Like when I'm having a really bad day, the first thing I think of, I'm like, it's an ice cream kind of day. Or like maybe it's time to indulge. Like I'm having a bad day, I'm going to just whatever, I'll eat this or something like this. But it wasn't until recently, like in June, like I was just incredibly stressed with school, with work, with my hobbies. I wanted to go to the gym. I have a gym membership. I did not set foot into the gym that whole month, you know, and so I was really like in a rut. Like I was in a slump and I felt unmotivated to do anything. I binge watched Netflix and I ate a lot of junk food. Like here the junk food equivalent is like eating croissants and maybe a couple of donuts and bags of chips. And I think like every day on the way home from school I would maybe order like 3 croissants and a donut, and then I would buy like 2 bags of chips and maybe a soda or something. And I never drink soda. I grew up not drinking any soda, only on your birthday. And so like I would get all of these things, go home to my room, and then just eat all of it throughout the night. And then that would be my dinner because I would feel so sick. I would just go to sleep. And I'm like, this is not healthy or sustainable at all for my body, for my mental state. It's like this cycle. And I am kind of happy to say that I'm glad that TikTok or whatever normalized the depression room, because I did not know that was something like that other people went through. I always get a little bit embarrassed like when my room is like so destroyed, and not like destroyed like moldy things or whatever. It's mostly just like wrappers or like a mountain of clothes or whatever, because you know when you're like in a state of like in a slump or like not motivated to like really move or do anything, you kind of just let things fall apart. You know, some of my plants died during this period, you know, and anybody who knows me knows I really love plants. And so this is when like those like lessons from that class really triggered, and I'm like, you know what, like this is not sustainable, because like I know I allow myself to do this because I'm fortunate enough for my body that I can like gain a little bit of weight or like be really unhealthy, and then like if I dedicate 2 weeks of like healthy eating and working out, like my body will just snap back, you know. And my mom's like, I tell my mom this and she's like, wow, what it's like to be young, you know. And when I'm older, maybe that won't be the case. My metabolism will slow down and I will have these problems in the future. And I realize that I don't want to create these kind of really unhealthy like mental habits to have, and to be such an emotional eater when it comes to these things. And so this large introduction or preface was basically my motivation to be like, okay, you know what, next month like I need to set healthier goals like for my mind and for my like body, to not rely so heavily on these really junky foods, because I feel it's like a cycle. So it's really true, like what you eat helps with your mood and all these different things with the serotonin and the sciencey part. Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, but I do know that like healthier foods contribute to a healthier functioning body, contributes to a healthier mind, and so the opposite is equal as well. So when you're eating really junky and you already feel kind of bad and you feel unmotivated, it's like a cycle of like sadness, not depression, but you know, your body feels sluggish and sleepy, and like you feel like you have a stomach ache all the time or like a headache. It's like a continuous cycle of bad things. And so I decided, and I got my friend to join me. I'm like, okay, what are your goals as well? And he goes, you know what, I don't want any more pizzas or junk food or McDonald's or whatever, because he likes to indulge in those kind of things. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to get rid of all processed foods, like no more chips, croissants, donuts, anything. Like unless the only sweet or whatever that I could have is if I make it by hand. And if I'm going to put in all that effort, then, you know, that's okay. I don't think it's ever one thing where you just cut out all the bad foods, you know. I don't really believe in that. I think it's more of a balance of whatever that you enjoy, because food is meant to be enjoyed, you know. I don't think it should be so like broccoli and boiled chicken and rice. Like I don't really care for things like this. But it was a really fun experience for me to just eliminate all of this food at first. For the first week and a half, 2 weeks, like, you know, sometimes I was really craving it. I'm like, oh, you know, a croissant would be so good. I'm running late to school, whatever. But then I realized like half the time I didn't really want junk food, like chips or anything like this. I just, I have like, I don't know what it's called, maybe like an oral fixation. It's the same thing like with smokers when they're in the habit of like smoking, and then they chew gum. A lot of smokers chew gum afterward because they need something for their mouth. I really like crunchy things. I love like biting. I like that I like the crunchiness of things. And so my friend noticed this, and I'm like, you know what, you're right, you know. So he started peeling carrots for me every day and like chopping them, and then so every day I'm just like eating carrot sticks. Maybe I'm clearing like 10, 15 carrots every single day, and it's like mindless eating, you know. And then so I ended up stocking my fridge with a bunch of apples, carrots. I really got into watermelon. I would chop the whole thing for the week, and then like every time like I would go to school, I'd put a little bowl in the freezer, so when I came home I had like a frozen crunchy watermelon sugary snack, you know, because normally I like ice cream or other things like this. And so I think now I'm going into the tips finally, but I think the biggest thing when it comes to eating healthier, I don't think there's like a one size fit all, which I think is also beautiful because all of our bodies are very different. I think the biggest thing is to recognize your habits and your problems, whatever that small thing you want to fix, whether you're overindulging in meat products or dairy or different or junk food like I was, and then make a small adjustment. And then I think that we can all do something for 30 days and then see how you feel afterward. Maybe you do need a little bit of junk food every now and then, and that's okay too, you know, but find your perfect balance, you know. Like to cook something cold turkey can be very difficult, but set a limit for yourself so you feel motivated to get through to the end, you know, and experiment with what works for you and what doesn't, because everybody is so different. I think those are my honest tips for you, because I didn't realize this until later, you know. Like I'm 24 and I'm like, you know what, I am kind of an emotional eater. Maybe I should have a stricter schedule for myself, a stricter diet in this sense, because as soon as the 30 days were over, I did like eat a little bit more junk food and stuff, and I immediately felt awful. I felt so bad, like my stomach and my body like rejected it. Like I think I ordered like a fatty chicken wrap with like sauces and french fries and all these things, and I maybe cleared a quarter of it, a few bites of my sandwich, and I'm like, I cannot eat this. Like my stomach is like killing me, like it's like in so much pain. And so I immediately threw it away, and I'm like, you know what, I need to find a healthier balance for myself, because I feel so much better after the 30 days. Like I have so much energy. Like I didn't even have coffee today, and it's 5 in the evening, you know, and so I feel so much happier, and I think that I want to sustain this. And so that's what I can definitely recommend. Like if you are ever considering moving to a little bit healthier or whatever, you just the reward from your body feeling so much better is amazing. Like you don't, it's just really great. It's probably really cliche and you know this already, but these are my tips. I just wanted to share my story with you guys, because maybe you could relate to this sort of thing. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned something from it or it inspired you in some way. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, you can leave a comment below and I always respond. But I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.